the most dramatic.
All right. I know, that's an interesting start for you guys. My mouse died, so I can't do it more properly. But anyway.
We're keeping the bloopers in.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, this is the Discovering Eden podcast. My name is Brandon.
I'm Jonathan.
I'm Marty.
And welcome as we do shenanigans every single week. Anyway, this week's going to be Leviathan. But before we do that, we're going to get into prayer. Then we'll get into the bumper, where I get to shimmy up again and hit the computer to do all this stuff again.
Don't hit the computer.
How to smack it?
Work.
It's its own fault for the... Well, I guess... Anyway. The Popeyes gift card doesn't work as a AA battery. That happened before we recorded.
The joke doesn't hit us.
The joke doesn't work. But, anyway.
Throw it at the screen, though. Just...
Ding! Alright. Dear God, thank you that we're able to come together and meet up like this to discuss your word and your creatures that you've created, and just to explore the text that you've given us, and kind of talk through the different things that we see and experience in the world around us. Pray that you just kind of lead this conversation, that we're able to first and foremost lift you high. I pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen. All right, shoot me face. Kaboom. I'm just gonna move this so I can get it there later. Yeah, okay. This was gonna be a fun episode.
Last episode was the episode of using the phones. This is the episode of awkwardness.
Yeah.
You know what?
Embrace it.
Yeah, you embrace it. You embrace it. So, Leviathan.
Sea dragon.
Summon.
Final Fantasy. We got it. Especially with like Rebirth and everything coming out for Final Fantasy VII.
Right.
You know, there you go.
Yeah.
They make it look really cool.
Yeah.
It does look really cool. HD.
They need to bring it to Switch or Switch 2. I will get the games if they do.
Remake is coming to Switch 2.
Is it?
Uh-huh.
I knew that Interlude was.
Yeah, no, Remake was confirmed. Not
Okay.
Rebirth yet, but...
I know you're totally thinking we're talking about Leviathan here,
And we are.
So in case you're lost, Leviathan is cool. It's a summon in Final Fantasy. But of course, that's not what we're actually talking about here. Though it is Leviathan. So
Break out the tidal wave.
So, Leviathan, often associated with the Bible in tandem with Behemoth, particularly in the book of Job. But where does Leviathan originate? Well, to see that, it's in Canaanite myth. And for those who are wondering, where is the land of Canaan? Well, good old handy-dandy map. This is the land of Canaan, also known as Israel. The land of Israel. The Promised Land. So, it wouldn't be strange then to see, well, Canaanite myth, Leviathan, Behemoth, all these kind of things, kind of intermix and intermingle with the Hebrews in their Promised Land, which is the land of Israel, the land of Canaan. So to see it there shouldn't be a surprise, especially culturally. We absorb things, make it our own. I mean, you see that with America as the melting pot, quote unquote, with a lot of different things coming together. or you see it in different trade routes, which this is in Israel, where one of the more major trade routes between like Egypt and Mesopotamia is, where you see these intermingling of religion, of trade, like trade goods, everything. So all this information is getting passed one way or another. So for it to be in this region should not be a surprise. Getting that out of the way.
Good.
So that is the land of Canaan. You can look that up on the map as well. This is just a map I got in Israel when I was there. It shows also the 12 tribes of Israel, along with elevation, and I think that's cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet map.
Because I'm a map nerd when it comes to that, so I think that's cool, especially with the locations of the 12 tribes, but I digress. So, with Canaanite myth, obviously Leviathan and Behemoth are not the only aspects of Canaanite myth that appear within the Bible. Other things that are within the Bible that are Canaanite myth: Baal, Asherah, and El. Those are different gods or goddesses that are within Canaanite myth, and there's probably more. I'm just listing some of the more key ones that I know I can think of off the top of my head, like immediately. So, one that kind of stood out to me, and I didn't really know this a little bit before, is El.
Yeah, that's the one that I don't know either.
So this is their creator god, if you will. Which in common just means God.
Which is why Hebrew uses it all over the place.
Yeah.
Various names of God, El Elyon, El Shaddai.
Yeah. And I put on here El Shaddai and Elohim.
Yeah.
Elohim meaning creator God in the names of God. But El, in and of himself, for Canaanite myth, is the creator God. So, interesting little tidbit is it's almost like a prefix for some of these other things. But ultimately, in the Hebrew, it just means God. So, you'll see El in and around different things within the Bible. In the Hebrew, just means God. But again, they're adopting some of the language and some of the culture around them into their own context. So, interesting little tidbit. Didn't want to skip over it because I thought it was interesting. Maybe you'll find it interesting, or maybe you're like, wow, Brandon, just shut up. Yeah. I just thought it was interesting. Now, something that I'll give a shout out to Wayne in the comments of, I think it was the Western Dragon Myth podcast episode, where he commented a paragraph where he was talking about Leviathan in that with the KTU, which is the cuneiform, the Ugaritic text. We'll mention that briefly. You kind of skipped ahead of where we were ending up going, but we got you. You're on the right track, Wayne. We're going to get there.
Thanks, Wayne.
So I'm not going to go into the specifics with the KTU, because at first I'm like, what the heck is that? I had to look it up because I thought it was like a Bible translation. I'm like, well, that's not a Bible translation. What is it? Oh, it's the cuneiform translation thing. Oh, that's not what I thought that was. But again, this ties into more of the cuneiform that would have based some of the actual basis for some of these myths. And then the Hebrew kind of also goes with it. And I think there's also the Hebrew to cuneiform translation thing as well. I don't know. You can look it up on your own time. I'm no expert in it, obviously. But I wanted to bring it up, give a shout out where it's due. Wayne said some pretty cool stuff. Check out his comment. Anyway, I caught myself off guard. So I guess, yeah. and I took this from, I think, like the same site I found at KTU or whatever. The Ugric cuneiform was the base of the myth discovered at Ras Shamra through the stone tablets found at that site. So the idea of Leviathan, the seven heads, and all the myth that we do know of for the Canaanite myth, that was found at Ras Shamra with the Ugaritic cuneiform tablets. So that's where they're found. And another thing that I wanted to mention, I don't remember if it's here or up here. No, it's up here. It's not like, so when you think Leviathan, what do you think of? Sea dragon, which is what you said earlier. And dragon it is. Along with many of the other dragon myths that you see across the globe. Now, trade can only get you so far, so the trade routes. So, if there's connection between Egypt, Mesopotamia, Babylon, like all these other places, you can understand that because of the trade routes that were in place. Where you can't necessarily connect it is some of the dragon myths, say in South America, or other places along that period of time where, well, there wasn't a trade route in that area. So your things like Thunderbirds or different things like in the North Americas at that time, or different other things that we know of. And sure, you can maybe say it was like influenced by European expansion at that point, where they kind of intermingled shared stories there to kind of influence their own myths. Sure, you could say that. But there is a base of dragons elsewhere, not just in this area. And you see this globally. It's not just in a one centralized location. Which is why I definitely think dragons in them of themselves, now what they are might be different, but dragons, as at least described by the people, I feel like definitely existed in one way or another. Obviously, there's different exaggerations of those dragons to kind of mythologicalize. I don't even think that's a word, but
I think you're on the right track.
they turn it into myth and to these creatures that kind of go beyond reality a little bit. Now, obviously, we don't see quote-unquote scientific specimens of dragon that, we think of when we think, oh, this is a dragon. Like, where's this fire-breathing dragon that's red, has horns and spines and wings, with a spiked tail. Yeah, we don't see that in things. However, they're like kind of what we had in earlier discussion with dinosaurs. Well, the term dinosaur didn't come out until 18-something.
Right.
AD. So, well, they're clearly not going to call them dinosaurs. And yet, what do you call? Well, for the ancient people, dragon. Which is why I think you see it with, there's flying dragons, there's water dragons, there's dragons with no wings and they walk, there's dragons that slither, stuff like that. You see dragons in all aspects there, which to me, well, that's a dino.
Yeah.
That's a dinosaur. Now, why would you have dinosaur myth? Oh, I say dinosaur myth, but it's dragons, and dragons are in myths. Why do you see them in the myths, and they're described in a way that you can still kind of understand them? Sure, they're not going to specify with things that... Well, because, okay, if you were to describe a dinosaur to somebody who had no idea what that is, how would you describe it?
A very large lizard.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of scary. I mean, it goes back to what dinosaur means in terrible lizard.
Terrible lizard, yeah. But that's, again, how we now know it.
Yeah.
We know it as, oh, it's a lizard, it's a reptile. to them, it's just a big animal.
That's scary and intimidating. Yeah, so it makes sense.
Which leads me to kind of the biblical or Hebrew word for Leviathan, or at least what it's surrounded by. So, sea monster and sea creatures in the Hebrew comes from the word tannin, or tannin, or however you say it. Tannin. Tannin. I'm going to Americanize it.
Mushy style.
So tannin can mean anywhere from dragons, sea serpents, crocodiles, whales, serpents, which is just transliterated.
So this is just like an umbrella term.
Yes, it's an umbrella term. So anything where you think of sea dragon,
Anything that lives in the ocean, or is it anything that lives in the ocean, or does it extend beyond that?
And the particular one I looked at in this instance is ocean related.
That's what I was understanding.
Or water based.
Yeah.
There are other terms for like dragon, serpent, whatever that you can find as well. I just focused on tannin here
Because Leviathan.
because of Leviathan. And Leviathan, again, thought of being in the water. A sea dragon. It's kind of hard to be a sea dragon without the water. But, so, it's transliterated, so with as much context as we can muster. And obviously, like, let's just say my book here, the NIV translation, and it's a study Bible. It loves putting it as a crocodile because, well, that's the closest creature that we know of that can fit that description. Except, guess what? It doesn't fully match the description.
Yeah, I haven't seen a crocodile breathe fire.
No.
Or what is it? Is it Psalm 74 is the many heads of Leviathan?
Yeah.
Is that implying there's multiple, or is
Right.
it some sort of multi-headed creature? I don't know.
You're getting ahead.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. We'll go there. We'll go there.
Well, and even, I mean, along those lines, too, thinking about, whether it's a crocodile or not, like, it doesn't fit that. You look at, in Job, I know we're going to get there later, but even Job and any of the other myths around Leviathan, I forget which myth it is, but, one of them talks about, like, God fishing out the Leviathan, like, only God could do that kind of thing. But, yeah, it's clearly this very large, not a crocodile.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's also in the ocean.
Yeah.
Or in the sea. And how much of that do we know of? Which I know we briefly touched on in a previous video, which is not a lot. We've maybe scratched the surface of stuff that we know of in the water, let alone things that are of the deep. Because I think who can rouse Leviathan from its slumber? I think that's like Job 3 or something around that, which is like, yeah, who can rouse it? You can make all the racket you want. If it's super in the depth of the abyss, congratulations. Good luck getting its attention. Which, again, goes to kind of the mystery and stuff behind it as well. But I wanted to bring this up, especially talking about the exchange of information, cultures, and the story of like dragon slaying, all that kind of stuff. So now I got this from like Google AI thing. So
Take it with a grain of salt.
take it with a grain of salt, but it found the information faster than I probably could. I tried tracking it and trying to like cross-reference to see if it's accurate, and it's as accurate as what I think it is. So we'll go with that, but I am giving you the caveat beforehand. I just thought it was interesting.
Come on, it's on the internet. It's got to be true.
Exactly. Does the internet ever let you?
I tried finding accurate sources for these. So there is for the Canaanite myth, you have Baal and Leviathan, where Baal basically slays Leviathan in this battle, if you will. And another name for Leviathan here in the Canaanite myth is Lotan. And I keep thinking Lotad, but that's not what it is. Just think of Leviathan, you just see a derpy Lotad staring at you.
Maybe it's some future evolution.
You thought Gyarados was the sea monster.
No, it's a Lotad. What's this lily pad? The most terrifying creature you can ever think or imagine. You can't fish it with a fishing hook.
Yeah.
It breathes fire. It's scary. I mean, it
it's
does.
still a water type.
It learns flamethrower.
Does it really?
Should I say
Wow.
more? It's Leviathan.
There you go.
I mean, I guess Lotad doesn't. Balubicolo does. You can't raise it from a slumber, otherwise it will continuously dance.
Checks out.
Anyway, off track. So it's also similar to other myths around the world. So Thor and Jormungandr with the Midgard serpent
Mhm.
and Thor. This quote unquote this god slaying a dragon. Marduk and Tiamat, which is a goddess and a dragon. Again, with Marduk slaying Tiamat, or something along those lines. And Indra and Vitra, which is Hindu. The other one was Babylonian, by the way. So for Hindu, Vitra is a dragon. Same kind of thing. Now, I don't know Hindu all that much, so y'all can look that up on your own time. I am not 100% confident. Again, this is Google. I know Thor and Jormungandr. I know that one.
Yeah.
Marduk, Tiamat, I don't know as much, but I've heard Tiamat before. And then, again, I don't know Hindu. But again, it would be kind of on that same trade route as well, the bottom two. So they would have cross-mingled about some of these things. So the similarities between, I think, make sense.
Yeah. Well, even like Tiamat, I know depending on the time period of the Babylonian myth, sometimes it's just a dragon, other times it's a multi-headed dragon. So
Interesting.
So
it ties back
yeah.
into that same Leviathan with multi-heads.
Because Leviathan, the seven heads, and we know this because of the cuneiform tablets at Ugarit. I'm probably butchering the name of that, but Rashamra.
That's what we do here.
We're American. We apologize. Or maybe we don't. I don't know.
What's the American response?
We've been butchering names since the beginning, so
Since
Just
the
roll with
beginning
it.
of
We're trying our
time.
best.
yeah.
Another thing I wanted to bring up, kind of along the lines of Thor and Jormungandr, you have Viking accounts of sea dragons and different things like that. Sea serpents. What are they? Could they be referring to this Leviathan? Or, like, is there multiple of them? What is it? And to kind of go back into it, at this point I want to go back into the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And there's two distinctions that you can make of Leviathan. First is the illustrative or metaphorical approach to what Leviathan is, which you see in the myth and depictions of that, and the allusions to it that you find in illustrative examples, like in Revelation, like in Psalms, like in Isaiah. And then you also have the more physical descriptions, which I think are more actual depictions of creatures that you see in the book of Job. They're explained totally differently. So let's start with the illustrative examples.
Mm-hmm.
So does somebody want to... I have Psalm 74
I have that one already.
and
pulled
Psalm
up, so-
104, and then Isaiah 27. I know we touched on some of these last
Before.
week.
Yeah.
I mean, not last week for us because we were off a week, but
Yeah. I have Psalm 74 already pulled up, so I can read that one.
okay.
Do you want me to read?
I had 13 through 15,
Okay,
but it's
that's-
been a while So I don't know.
That's kind of what that's what mentions Leviathan. So I
Okay.
figure we stick to that.
So yeah, you can mention that then.
Okay. So again, Psalm 74. We'll start with verse 13. It was you who split open the sea by your power. You broke the heads of the monster in the waters. It was you who crushed the heads of Leviathan and gave it as food to the creatures of the desert. So, I mean, just a few verses there mention it.
And again, that's more in reference to Canaanite myth, especially the food for the creatures of the desert. Where it says monster there is Tanit.
Okay. So it's that term.
So monster there is Tannin. So I'm clarifying. Again, sea monster, sea creature. It's something that isn't described by anything that we know of, quote unquote. Or at least that science doesn't think of.
Now, I know I briefly brought it up earlier with the heads, and I don't know if we want to get into it now because we're talking about it, but you mentioned the illustrative example versus the physical. Where do you stand on kind of that? I mean, because it seems like potentially a physical description to me of a creature.
I mean, the same could be said, though, of Revelation.
Sure.
Though they explain in Revelation what they mean.
Yeah.
Now, some of this could be true of Canaanite myth as well. The only thing we know of Canaanite myth is what we found in the tablets at that particular site of Ras Shamra.
Right.
Now, Leviathan has multiple heads there, and there were two of them, male, female, in the myth. From what accounts and research that I did, and then there's, I want to say like the Book of Enoch also ties into like Leviathan, and it goes into more of it almost intermixes the two of bringing both the Canaanite myth and then also a Christian belief together into more of an apocalyptic thing and what happens at the end times. Which to me, I'm like, I can understand why it's not in biblical canon.
Yeah.
Because it's adopting some of the Canaanite myth into it.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, Gabriel comes down and slays like the dragon. So almost like the Baal and Leviathan thing. And we know from scripture they worship Baal and Asherah and like all these things, and that's kind of what turned them away from God. Particularly Baal, and Baal to me is kind of like a Jesus character in that myth.
Almost messianic.
Which is interesting because they gravitate toward Baal and they worship Baal specifically, like very much so. Which I just find that fascinating, knowing obviously the similarities and differences between the two. So look it up on your own time if you're interested. I'm no expert, so.
But besides, that description, the illustrative part of it is very obvious. It's showing God's sovereignty over this creature.
Yeah, and there's a reason why Job, I think, is very different because of the context that it's in.
Sure.
And we'll get there. So you did Psalm 74.
Yes.
So
What was the other one?
Psalm 104.
Hold on. 26.
I just put certain things down, so that's where it talks about Leviathan.
I'll start in 25, just because that talks about going into the sea and that. Psalm 104, 25. Here's the sea, great and wide, which teems with creatures innumerable, living things both small and great. There go the ships and Leviathan, which you formed to play in it. These all look to you to give them their food in due season. It goes on from there.
So, in that sense, and this is where it kind of differs a little bit. And now, obviously, it's a psalm, so you got to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt here. But Leviathan here is not mentioned as this ferocity, chaos-driven creature. It's just another creature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
In-
what translation?
in Psalm.
This is ESV.
ESV. Yeah, I mean, it mentions to play there, and
Yeah,
the
play in
NIV
the
says
sea.
frolic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not dangerous.
Yeah,
it's what it's given.
Just imagine this, seven-headed creature or whatever out dancing in the water.
Ludicolo. What a beauty! It's a Ludicolo. You just see mirror view theme going off.
Yeah.
But it shows more of the tame side, and part of this is showing God's authority over this as well. He's given it the oceans so that they may feed and play or frolic in them. But it shows a much different side of things than the Canaanite myth of Leviathan, which is chaos driven, meaning destruction, and God had to slay it. Whereas in this instance, well, obviously it's the Psalms again, so it's a song. But God isn't slaying Leviathan here. He's allowing it to frolic and play in the water, splash with its friends. The monsters again there is Tannin. Keep beating a dead horse there, but again, it's more of a illustrative way, but almost in contrast to the same Canaanite myth that we see of Leviathan. Now, Isaiah 27. Oh, you already have that pulled up. I have 1 through 11. I don't.
1 through 11? Yeah.
It's been a while since I looked at it, so.
Yeah. Isaiah 27, 1 through 11. In that day, the Lord, with his hard and great and strong sword, will punish Leviathan, the fleeing serpent, Leviathan, the twisting serpent, and he will slay the dragon that is in the sea. In that day, a pleasant vineyard sang of it. I, the Lord, am its keeper. Every moment I water it, lest anyone punish it. I keep it night and day. I have no wrath. Would that I had thorns and briars to battle. I would march against them. I would burn them up together, or let them lay hold of my protection. Let them make peace with me. Let them make peace with me. In days to come, Jacob shall take root. Israel shall blossom and put forth shoots and fill the whole world with fruit. As he struck them, as he struck those who struck them, or have they been slain as their slayers were slain? Measure, by exile, you contended with them. He removed them with his fierce breath in the day of the east wind. Therefore, by this the guilt of Jacob will be atoned for, and this will be the full fruit of the removal of his sin, when he makes all the stones of the altars like chalk stones crushed to pieces. No Asherim or incense altars which will remain standing. For the fortified city is solitary, a habitation deserted and forsaken like the wilderness. There the calf grazes. There it lies down and strips its branches. When its boughs are dry, they are broken. Women come and make a fire of them. For this is a people without discernment. Therefore he who made them will not have compassion on them. He who formed them will show them no favor.
Before you go super in depth, I'm gonna step out for a second. My contact got dislodged, so I know it's super awkward, but it's really bugging me.
And awesome. More awkwardness.
We're embracing the awkward.
Should we continue without him?
It's when he comes back like, dude, you missed this major conversation. Deep revelations.
I wanted to say something. It's like, I got a dip.
Yeah.
And my eyes a little fuzzy. The one on the left is twitching. Again, do you see the more... That's more the Canaanite influence there. So it's alluding to it.
Yeah.
Alluding to that, but it's talking of something grander. A greater thing behind it.
Well, and I think you said that it was the Canaanite myth that had the two Leviathans.
Yes.
Male and female. And here mentions it.
It almost seems like two serpents.
Yeah, fleeing serpent and twisting serpent. You know, could it be the same one?
It could be the same one.
Yeah.
As different like characteristics of it.
Right.
But it also seems like almost two.
Mm.
And with Canaanite myth, or at least in the one in Enoch where there's two, he slays one of them, and one of the Leviathans is for like the desert animal, like kind of like you see in the Psalm. Like one of them is given to the earth, basically for the protection, and the other one is kind of under like control or reined in, which will come back at the end of time for chaos-driven, apocalyptic reasons. That's the Canaanite myth side of things.
Yep.
As far as I've researched, at least.
Yeah.
I'm no expert. Again, I'm clarifying.
Disclaimer again.
Disclaimer. But it's something I see within it.
Yeah.
Because, again, this is more the multiple heads or multiple of them. And you don't necessarily see that with Job. Because if it indeed had 7 heads, Job would mention 7 heads.
Right.
It does not.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said earlier, I mean, it ties into Revelation and how, you've got the beast with 7 heads, 10 horns, that whole thing.
And it's like in Isaiah, it's talking about exile and all these other aspects. And it ties again to the book of Revelation with the dragon. Which is why there's this tie-in with Leviathan and the dragon, and why like Lotan is similar to Satan, which is why they draw that comparison.
Yeah, and even in this, Isaiah here talking about basically God's redemption. It's at His hand that He slays the Leviathan or whatever, and goes on from there and offers redemption to Israel.
And why, in this instance, could be like the chaos, the sin, the embodiment of that, which is more the illustrative aspect of it, kind of similar to Revelation when it talks about these 7 heads, all that kind of thing.
Yep.
So that's why I tied it into the illustrative rather than physical. Now let's take a look at the physical, or what I claim, or what I say is the physical, which is Job 41, and I'll read it because I have it pulled up here. So, it says 41, 1 through 34, because it's the whole thing. The whole thing. So, can you pull in Leviathan with a fishhook? Or tie down its tongue with a rope? Can you put a cord through its nose or pierce its jaw with a hook? Will it keep begging you for mercy? Will it speak to you with gentle words? Will it make an agreement with you for you to take it as your slave for life? Can you make it a pet of it like a bird? Or put it on a leash for the young women in your house? Will traders barter for it? Will they divide it up among the merchants? Can you fill its hide with harpoons, or its head with fishing spears? If you lay a hand on it, you will remember the struggle and never do it again. Any hope of subduing it is false. The mere sight of it is overpowering. No one is fierce enough to rouse it. Who then is able to stand against me? And this is, again, God speaking to Job in response to his questions that he had. So he's speaking to Job here, just to put that into context. Who has a claim against me that I must pay? Everything under heaven belongs to me. I will not fail to speak of Leviathan's limbs, its strength, and its graceful form. Who can strip off its outer coat? Who can penetrate its double coat of armor? Who dares open the doors of its mouth, ringed with a fearsome teeth? Its back has rows of shields tightly sealed together. Each is so close to the next that no air can pass between them. They are joined fast to one another. They cling together and cannot be parted. Its snorting throws out flashes of light. Its eyes are like the rays of dawn. Flames stream from its mouth. Sparks of fire shoot out. Smoke pours from its nostrils as a boiling point over burning reeds. That's from a boiling pot over burning reeds. My mistake. Its breath sets coals ablaze, and flames dart from its mouth. Strength resides in its neck. Dismay goes before it. The folds of its flesh are tightly joined. They are firm and immovable. Its chest is as hard as rock, hard as a lower millstone. When it rises up, the mighty are terrified. They retreat before its thrashing. The sword that reaches it has no effect, nor does the spear or the dart or the javelin. Iron it treats like straw, and bronze like rotten wood. Arrows do not make it flee. Sling stones are like chaff to it. A club seems to it but a piece of straw. It laughs at the rattling of the lance. Its undersides are jagged potsherds, leaving a trail in the mud like a threshing sledge. It makes the depths churn like a boiling cauldron and stirs up the sea like a pot of ointment. It leaves a glistening wake behind it. No one would think the deep had white hair. Nothing on earth is its equal, a creature without fear. It looks down on all who are haughty, or all that are haughty. It is king over all that are proud.
Definitely a crocodile.
Um,
I mean, that's just absurd to me. I understand, where they're trying to go with, like, because I have a study Bible too, and it does the same thing. But I don't know. I can't read that description and go, yeah, crocodile.
Because-
straight up the Final Fantasy Leviathan.
Yeah.
it's the Final Fantasy Leviathan. And again, it goes to like things that what's in the deep?
Yep.
What do we know of? By its description, it's gargantuan. It's not small. Let's go mess it up. And they regretted it. That is basically what it said. You will never do it again.
Right.
In this description, it makes it seem very, very real. But there are key instances in that where it's like, yeah, but this doesn't make sense from a scientific standpoint. Like breathing fire, what does that? But then, let me tell you about a couple of, elements that we see in nature that do exist. So electricity is a natural occurring thing. Ever heard of the electric eel?
Right.
It generates electricity. Or like even sharks use electromagnetic fields to like gain sense of their prey, different things like that. Or obviously like they have different sensing things there too. But electric eels in particular generate electricity. Not so fantasy, is it? Let's think of another one. Okay, the bombardier beetle. That's about as close to fire as you can get. Fire in the hole, quite literally. Little tiny beetle, like probably yay big, about the size, little less. I think it's smaller than a marble. The little beetle, and can come up with things that are like hundreds of degrees, coming out of its rear end as a defense mechanism. I don't know, it's pretty close. It even smokes. When it goes off, it smokes afterward. I don't know. It's pretty convincing.
Yeah.
For some of these things. I had another one on here. I need to pull it up. Oh yeah, poison. Well, you see that everywhere. But again, lizards, snakes, any serpent, if you will. Yeah, they secrete poison or they inject poison. You even see that in bees or other things like that, different toxins. And some of these toxins can also do things like, Pokemon puts it as electric, but paralyze.
Yeah.
It's more poison, but yeah. So you have that. Light. It mentioned light in Leviathan. There are things that emit light. You see fireflies. You have anglerfish. Any bioluminescence. Even algae can emit light. So some of these things, they're not far-fetched. You see them in nature, too. Why can't fire be one of them?
Especially when you're talking about something that's in the deeps, because a lot of what we've found in the deeps, that we know of, does have that bioluminescence about them.
Yeah. So it makes it interesting. And it's not like big things can't be down there. We see the Greenland shark as an example of one of these things. And other people are like, well, if it's that big, why wouldn't we could have seen it by now? Well, I don't know. Could you?
Well, the other question is, and again, I know it goes back to the illustrative example, but if God really crushed the heads of Leviathan, is it still there?
Yeah, that's another thing. It's
And
like it could be an extinct animal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where my lean is.
Which is where I lean with
Destroyed it.
which is where I also lean with Behemoth, as it's no longer around.
Mhm.
But Leviathan, to me, could still be out there
Well, yeah, I mean, if
because
it's in the
if
ocean,
in the ocean, it gets a pass because of mystery. Just because we don't know anything really about the depths, especially the depths of the ocean. Like, we put trackers on like whales and stuff and sharks, and then they go to a depth, and then we cannot track them anymore because they went too deep. So what do we know? We still don't know some of those things. Like, where do they go? Yeah. Beats us. We don't know.
Leviathan's Tea Party. Way out.
Think of like how to
Invite
train.
only.
It's How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah.
They're there. They're bringing their food and everything to the Leviathan. But yeah, it gives a much more physical description, and I'll even back it up a little bit too. So let's go to Job 38. I think it's 38. Or maybe it's not. No. 39. I know it definitely gets there. But you'll see this a couple of places as well. So I'll go to 39. So this is God describing different animals in where it leads up to like Job 40, 41. So Job we'll even say we'll start at 38. So you bear and the cubs, verse 32. Ibis and roosters, 36. The lions, 39 and 40. The raven, mountain goats, wild donkeys, wild ox, ostrich, which it probably gives as a different animal other than the NIV. It gives like horse. It gives a bunch of different animals on top of what it'll eventually go to with Leviathan, Behemoth.
Yeah.
Which are very real animals.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's like, and then when it gets to Job 40, Job answers, Lord, I'm unworthy. How can I reply to you? I spoke once, twice I will say no more. And then the Lord spoke. And then that's where he gives Behemoth, Leviathan. Saying, I'm more powerful than anything that you can even imagine or think of.
Yeah.
Like, what's the most ridiculous thing that you know of at your time frame? It's basically what I'm thinking of. Like, what's the biggest thing that you know of that you can picture in your mind, that you can like realize this is what this is? I'm greater than that.
Mm-hmm.
And to him, hello, Leviathan and Behemoth. Canine myth. But he's mentioning actual creatures, which could have been the inspiration for some of these myths. Some of the creatures of them, at least. So, we'll get to Behemoth in the next episode. But Leviathan, what is Leviathan? What could Leviathan be?
A crocodile, of course.
To be honest, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it really even matches some of the extinct animals we even have. It's probably as close to a crocodile as we can have. Because I think of like Dinosuchus, which is just a really massive crocodile that's extinct. But there could be other things that we just don't know because they could still be out there. And we don't find them in the fossil record because they're at the bottom of the ocean. And they could just be really massive. Who knows? But to me, it seems like more of a physical description. Or if you want to take it, it's more of a metaphorical example. I'm like, okay, so is it talking about deep sea vents and the flaring of the nostrils there because the earth is alive and moving? Is that what it's referring to? Is it referring to like plate tectonics and different hot spots and underwater volcanoes? But then it's like, but it leaves a wake, it keeps going, it moves, so it seems like it's very alive. Rather than just a geologic process.
Well, and it goes back to this idea that like it's got to be something that these people could have connected with.
Yeah, exactly.
You have. I don't feel like deep sea vents is something that they would have necessarily known much about, if anything at all, and so it's just not something they could relate to.
Yeah. So if it's a creature that they would have at least seen or at least heard tales of, because again, some of these tales were brought in by, like in the case of the Vikings, seafarers, like sailors. They would have
spent so much
they
time
spend
on
the time on the water. So some of these things, where did they find it? Well, the people that are on the water.
Right.
And then they're like, well, could they have been in the Mediterranean? Was it just limited to the ocean, or is it in the sea? And then I guess you could call it the Tethys Ocean or the Tethys Sea for geologic stuff, because there used to be a sea in that area as well. Or ocean, I should say. But that's besides the point. But it's interesting because it's like, there's nothing that we know of that even compares to what that is.
Mm-hmm.
You can't catch it. Good luck trying to wrangle it. You're nope. That's your answer. You can summon it maybe, but
only in Final Fantasy.
But it personifies this unobtainable, unconquerable, unimaginable thing in the ocean, especially, particularly here. And it just shows that God is greater than this.
Yeah.
I am more powerful than. I think it also kind of alludes to the myth as well, because at that point Job would have known the myth.
Mm-hmm.
So I am greater than. And in Job, it never specifies I will slay Leviathan.
Mm-hmm.
I am the only one that can do anything about Leviathan.
Yeah.
So it's not meant to like scare Job. It's just meant to say I am greater than anything you can even imagine or think of.
Yeah, and I think given Job's circumstances, that probably would have been some comfort to him too. You know, everything that he went through and what he lost was his Leviathan, was his behemoth. You know, like these are circumstances that he couldn't do anything about.
Mm-hmm.
And so now God's answering, you know, that like, hey, I'm still greater than all of that.
It's greater than some of the most fearsome things
Yeah.
that you've heard about.
Here's some of the fearsome things that walk this planet, swim in this
Yeah.
in the ocean. Like he's describing different animals even before Job 40 and 41,
Mm-hmm.
and then gets to Job 40 and 41, which
It's almost this build up to like
it's a build up
the most
to the
terrifying.
greatest things. And to me, it's more of a physical description. Sure, it's said in a very poetic way.
Mhm.
So I guess that you could call it illustrative.
But I feel like the illustrative and the physical, I mean, it could be both easily.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it works often in tandem.
He's not describing seven heads.
Yeah.
It's not describing some of these other things that you see in the Canaanite myth. This is what this is. Which gives a much more physical description, which is why I think it's more of an actual creature.
Yep.
And obviously there's going to be people that disagree with that. We're okay with that. We're just discussing.
I'm actually not okay with it.
You're allowed to have your opinion, no matter how wrong it may be.
Obviously, you have to take into consideration the book of Job and why it was written and who it was written to.
Yeah.
Or I guess it's a call and response between God and Job.
Mm-hmm.
And God's just saying, I have authority over the greatest thing that you can even think of. I have authority over it.
Yeah.
The greatest thing, the biggest things, the smallest things, everything. And that's the solace that comes with that. And that's the point of Job. It's meant to be a comfort to Job, who went through, well, to put it bluntly, hell. With everything that went through and all the testing that Job went through. Even his friends kind of saying, it's your fault.
Yeah.
You must have sinned somewhere.
Yeah. Friends like that, who needs enemies?
Yeah. That's a long story short of it all. Is that God's greater than anything you can think of Leviathan to be. So yeah. Let's see if I had anything else on my phone. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to mention?
I don't think so.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Is the Leviathan the Hydra?
Well, that's where it could be, like, again, the Hydra Leviathan myth could have been intermingled and mixed for some of those things. To make, like, in the case of Revelation, it makes more sense to be a Hydra, just because, like, again, the context, what people would have known it to be,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
fits the Hydra mold. But was Hydra initially Leviathan?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Who knows? Because what Roman culture did is, we take you over, you have your own culture, you go do your thing.
Yeah. We'll just
And then it just assimilates it into,
Mm-hmm.
congratulations, we now have a new god.
Yeah.
So, it could be. It could be.
Who knows?
God knows. So yeah, Tannin. Tannin. Interesting Hebrew word used often in conjunction with Leviathan, with sea creatures, sea monsters. You see that even in Genesis, Genesis 1. So the creatures of the deep, all these things that it's mentioning on the certain day of creation. Tannin is where it uses it there.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, that's Leviathan. And we'll get to its partner in crime, Behemoth, in the next episode. So, that'll be it for this video. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe as I mosey on over to the computer. See ya.